Hi, welcome back to part 3 of editing in DaVinci. Today we are going to talk about color and exporting your video. Color is a really important part of your film. Think about how a sunny day makes you feel compared to a gloomy, cloudy day. That can be the same with how you tweak the colors in your film. Hopefully you've got our test footage that we were using last time, or maybe you've got some of your own stuff you're going to play with. Let's go in the software and get started. So in DaVinci, there's a whole page dedicated to color. So we'll go over to that one now. It's this one down here. And there's a lot of stuff going on the page, but let's just break it down step by step. First of all, down the middle here, we've got our clip selector bar. You can see the 2 video clips I've already got on the timeline, me talking to camera here. Over on the right, we have things called nodes. These are like layers in if you've used other editing softwares, or basically they just allow you to add certain effects to one node, and you can have another node, add some different effects. It just helps break out your workflow. Down here, we've got all our different color tools. Today, we're just going to be focusing on these color wheels. And on the right, we have our histogram, basically color scopes and light graphs, which tell you if things are peaking too much in certain areas, if certain areas are too dark or certain areas are too bright, which means you get just white or just black in some areas. So up here on the top left, we've got our LUTs. LUT just means lookup table. It's basically like a filter you find on Instagram. You've got lots of them down here. I've got some of my own that I've added in, but most of these will already be built into the software. They basically just add different colors and stuff. So you can see as I hover over them, it's changing the color of my program view. So that's an overview of the DaVinci color page. Looks like a lot, I know, but you'll learn to find your way around. So let's tweak some of the colors on this clip here. First of all, you might be wondering the whole time why these clips look so gray. It's because we film at Fieldcast in something called log, which just means that it sort of retains a lot of the color information, but it means the output is quite gray and you have to do an initial edit just to get some color back into it. So we shot on a Sony camera, and luckily in DaVinci, they have a Sony section here, and we want to use this S-Log3 to 709 LUT. 709 is just the basic color profile. There's a lot of science around color we don't need to go into yet, but look it up if you're interested. So we're just going to double click this LUT here, and you can see that now we have a bit more color. This was it before, this is it now. So once we've got that LUT on, we can go into our color wheels tab and play around with that. A good thing to know about color is there are 3 main sections. You've got your shadows, you've got your midtones, and you've got your highlights. These cover all the different brightness levels of your image. So if your image is too bright or too dark, you can shift these around. Bear in mind that depending on the quality of what you're filming on, will limit how much you can tweak these settings. So if you're filming on a phone, you'll probably have less bandwidth to change these settings than if you are filming on one of these cameras. So maybe have a go at using some of the footage you've downloaded from this and comparing it to something you shot on your phone, see where the limits are for you. In DaVinci, they've named things slightly differently. So from left to right, you've got our lift, our gamma, and our gain. So lift is our shadows. You can see on the right down here that our shadows are moving most. Next to it, we've got our gamma, which is like our midtones. So you can see that most of all on our spectrum here, the middle is moving most. And you can see that my skin is getting quite blown out when I move it to the right, and when I move it to the left, it gets quite dark. Next to that, we've got our gain, which is our highlights, and you can see that our highlights are being blown out when I boost this up. So it looks like I'm right next to the sun right now. So I'll bring those down. And I just want to balance this out. So you don't want to, you can see that when I pull stuff all the way to the left, you get all this clipping. So I don't want any of that. And then on the right here, this offset tab is basically overall brightness of your image. It will retain sort of your lowest and highest points, so those aren't getting blown out too much unless you really push it. But yeah, have a play with these 4 settings and see if your image is looking good. It's worth bringing up some reference images if you get lost along the way. If there's something you really like the look of, put that up on a second monitor or up on your phone and just check that you're not too far away from that. So this is all our basic color correction. One last thing on this is something called white balance. So in your house, you might have a couple of different light bulbs. Some might feel a bit more orange or yellow. Some might be a bit more blue or a bit more white, you might say. White balance basically tweaks your white levels. So if you're filming in quite a yellow or orange environment, you can bring up the blue levels to compensate that. So in this image here, it's looking maybe a tiny bit blue. So down here on the left, just above our color wheels, is this temperature setting. So I can shift that all the way left to make it more blue, all the way right to make it more yellow. I think, let's just get it back to 0. I think maybe it's a tiny bit blue. So I'm just going to bring up that temperature here to 260. And that's looking a bit cleaner for me. It's important to get your white balance correct while you're filming. If you're on a phone, it will probably do an auto white balance. If you're on a camera, there'll be a white balance function, and you'll be able to change something called Kelvin. More about that in another tutorial we're going to be doing later. Great, so we just had a look at correcting the color on our footage. Now we're just going to do a little final pass, do a couple of extra tweaks. I'm going to do that by creating a new node. You can do all of this in the same one, but I just find it helpful to spread it out a bit. So I'm just going to right click, add node, corrector. You can also add one by doing Option S, and that'll add another one there, and you can just delete them if you want. So on this second node, I just want to make the colors pop a bit more. So I'm just going to increase this saturation down here. I'm thinking my face is a bit washed out. So I am going to add another node, and I'm going to go over to this section here called window, and I'm going to add something called a mask, which is this circle here. And you can manipulate this and just drag it around, stretch it out, make it smaller and bigger. And basically, that means that anything I do on this node is just going to affect this circle here. You can see on the node here, it's grayed out everything apart from my face. So I'm going to go back into our color wheel, and I just want to make my face a bit more contrasty, just so it pops a tiny bit more. I can increase the contrast here. So then if we click off this onto another node, and we turn this node off and on just by pressing down here, you can see that my face is washed out, and then when I put that on, it pops a bit more. So I'm quite happy with how this image is looking, but if I wanted to get a bit more creative, change the whole feel of the look, I might want to change some of the colors more dramatically. So I've made this new node here on the end, and in each of these lift, gamma, gain, offset, so your shadows, your midtones, your highlights, you can change the color of each of those. So let's say I wanted to make this daytime scene look like a nighttime scene. So I might bring down all of my levels a bit to make it look a bit darker. And often people associate nighttime with being a bit more blue. So I could either bring my color temperature down like this, or you can change the color of each individual shadows, midtones, highlights. So you can see that I shift this around, all my shadows are changing color. So I make those a tiny bit more blue. So you can see it's looking a lot darker. probably a bit too saturated for a nighttime scene. So I'm going to go back into the node where I changed my saturation, which is the second one. I'm going to click on that, bring the saturation down. So that looks like a bit of a nighttime scene. Let's delete that node. Let's bring the saturation back up to where it was at. Let's say I wanted to make it a bit more vibrant. In a lot of TV shows, if they're filming in somewhere like Mexico, they're going to make it look like this. So I'm going to shift the colors of my shadows a tiny bit. Shift that up to a bit more of an orange. So what I've just done are two very dramatic changes to the color, but hopefully that gives you an idea of kind of some of the stuff you can do. You'll have lots of clips in your timeline. We've only manipulated the color of one clip. So if we wanted to copy the settings from our color graded clip over to here, if you're on a mouse, you can just press the middle mouse button on the clip you want to copy from. So there we are. And if you're not on a mouse, just right click on the clip you want to copy from and click apply grade. There we go. So color grading is an art form. For big film productions, there will be one person just dedicated to doing the color in the edit. You can make color grading a big part of your process. You can create your own look and feel to your films and have your own sort of signature look. Have a play, dive deep in, go further than what I've shown you here, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Great, well done, you've come a long way. You've imported your footage, you've edited it, you've added some titles, you've added some music, you've tweaked your audio, you've added some color, and now you've got your final film you're happy with. One last thing, we've got to export it. And we do all that in the deliver page, which is right on the end here. Click that, deliver. We're going to name it, I've already named it here, but we're just going to name it video 1001. And we're going to choose where we want to save it. I'm just going to save it to desktop for now. You want to pick the format you want to save it in. A lot of the time on Mac it will automatically pick QuickTime, but we want to pick MP4 because that's sort of standard across most computers and operating systems. You want to pick your resolution. Our timeline resolution is a 1080p timeline, so we're going to keep it with the timeline resolution. You can, if you want a 4K video, pick that one. And then the rest of the settings are if you really need to tweak stuff, but I hardly ever touch that. So once you're happy with all those settings, you want to pick your in and out points. A lot of the time it will go from the start of your timeline to the end of your last clip. We've started editing sort of halfway through our timeline, so we want to pick the in point to be there. You can do that by dragging this slider or press I for your in point and O for your out point, and just make sure your render in and out range is on the in and out range, not the entire timeline. So we'll click that, and then finally you click add to render queue up here, you'll add it up here, and then click render all. And depending on how long your video is and how much processing you put into it will change how long the render time is, but this Mac's pretty powerful and it's quite a short video. So now we're all done. It's worth checking once you've rendered it out, just opening up your video. So this is what we rendered out, and you can see here, there's the video, and just watch it back, check none of the audio is messing up, you've got no missing frames. DaVinci should give you a warning if it's had problem on a certain frame, but it hasn't this time, so that's good. So now that your video is exported, you can upload that to YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and share it with the world. And hopefully you get a good reception. Right, so well done for getting to the end of these videos. I hope you feel inspired to go out there and film some stuff and then finally edit it and share it with the world. Remember, nobody becomes a master overnight, so keep persisting, and I'm sure eventually you'll come up with something you're really inspired by and that others are too. So get out there, have fun and be creative.